Hey quilters, today I'm working on a t-shirt quilt and I've got a pile of t-shirt pieces that are interfaced and ready to cut. And t-shirt material is going to be thicker than regular quilting cotton anyway, and these have got an interfacing on the back of them on top of that. So you'll want a nice sharp blade on your rotary cutter. So I thought since I was going to be changing that out anyway, I would show you guys how to change the blades on a couple of common rotary cutter styles, as well as how to make the rotary cutter left-handed if you need to. So before we get started with the demo for the changing the blades, I always get people asking me about t-shirt quilts. I make a lot of t-shirt quilts, and I always get people asking me, do you use a stabilizer, and if so, what kind? Now, this question is a question that I get a lot from other quilters, but I've never had a client ask me this. But anyway, I do have a technique that I use a lot where I use spray-based and cheap muslin to stabilize the shirts. It works great. I do have a blog post on that on my blog, and so I'll link to that in the description. And when I am going to use a fusible stabilizer, I've tried a lot of them, and my favorite is Heat and Bond Soft. So that's what I've got on the back of this, Heat and Bond Soft. It's a cotton interfacing, and it really is just a lot easier to deal with, and it has a nice feel. So I've got some of it right here. So you can see right here, Heat and Bond Soft, and I buy it by the bolt, and I'll leave the link to this stuff in the description as well. So let's get started showing you how to change the rotary cutter blades. Okay, so we're going to get ready to change these two rotary cutter blades. And first of all, how often should you change your rotary cutter blade? And that's going to depend on a lot of factors. Not really a certain number of quilts, a certain number of projects. Of course, bigger projects are going to dull your blade more. It also depends on what kind of material you're working with. Those t-shirt quilts that I showed you, those interface t-shirts, and even just a regular t-shirt that's not stabilized, they're going to wear out your blades a lot faster because they're just so much thicker. And also how many layers you're cutting through. So I would say the best thing to decide when you need to change your rotary cutter would be when your blade starts getting dull. So here I've got just 2 layers of cotton, and these blades are pretty dull. So you can see I try to cut through, and that second layer didn't come all the way through. And this one, it didn't really do much of anything. I had to push down really hard to get that to come apart, and it's still stuck. So your rotary cutter should be able to get through 4 or 5 layers of regular quilting cotton like butter. And if it's not, go ahead and change your blade. So you'll want something that you can, something puncture proof that you can put your old blades in. And so here I have, this is just a box that some frog tape was in. And I keep all of my old blades and my old needles in there. So you'll want to have that ready. And I'm going to set this to the side. Let's talk about these 2 different types of rotary cutters. So this one is a common type of rotary cutter that you might see a lot. This is an Olfa. It's great. But when you open it up, you see it kind of, when you squeeze the little handle, it comes out to the side. So the guard part stays in place, and the rotary cutter comes out to the side. And this part right here, you want it to be on the opposite side of your dominant hand. So holding it like this, I'm right-handed, this is on the left side. So you can see if I were to cut something, it works good for me to cut right-handed, but if I were to try to do that with my other hand, that's not really the way it needs to be. So you can make this left-handed, and I'll show you how to do that when you change the blade. Before you start messing with the blade, it's always a great idea to make sure that your blade is locked in place. It's locked in place so that you can't squeeze that handle and accidentally come out and cut yourself. So right now it's not locked in place. I'm just going to push the red button from the opposite side, and now it's locked in place so that I can't push that blade out and accidentally cut my finger open while I'm changing the blade. So to change the blade, what we're going to do, I like to hold this part still with my right hand, and then with my left hand, I'm going to unscrew this little nut right here on the back. So when you look at that piece, you can see on that video that there is kind of it's kind of hollow there. That's the side that goes closest to your rotary cutter. And then this other side that looks normal goes on the outside. So I'm going to put that down here, and then there's going to be a washer. So I just like to, and you can see the washer is kind of curved. I like to turn it face down so that when I go to put it back in there, turn it back the right way and it's in the right way. So once you take that side off, you can take this part off right here, and I'm going to just drop that blade into my sharps container so that I don't have to handle it. And then you can just put the new blade on. So you'll take this piece and put that over the blade, turn it over the other way, put your washer in place, and the washer, you can see here, is kind of oval shaped instead of round, and that is designed to fit over this piece right here. So you want that fitting over it and push down, and then get the nut and put it back on and tighten that up. Now, so it's ready for right-handed. If I wanted to make this left-handed, you'll just unscrew the little nut, take off the washer, and I'm going to take this part out, and just to keep from handling that blade, I'm going to put it back in its case. And then now we'll put the blade on the other side. So the blade and this piece right here needs to go on the side opposite from your dominant hand. So if you're left-handed, you're holding the rotary cutter, you want that blade to be on the right side. So I'm just gonna drop that blade on, put this little piece on, put the washer on, turning it so that it fits, and then put the nut on. And you just want to tighten it. I like to hold this part still and then tighten the nut so that it's just starting to feel tight. And so now that rotary cutter is ready for me to use it left-handed if I need to. So the nice thing about this one is that it does not matter. You don't have to do anything special to make it right-handed or left-handed. So this one is a little bit different, where this blade pops out to the side. On this one, the blade actually stays still. And when you push this button, so you'll push the button, pull it down, the guard moves down so that when you close it back up, the guard just moves back up. So the blade stays still and the guard moves up and down for you. And with this one, you can see I don't have to do anything special to make that left-handed. So let me show you how to change this one out. So you can see right here, there's kind of grooves right here. And I don't know if that's what that's for, but it is perfect for finger placement. And they've got the same grooves on both sides. This one is also made by Olfa, but it's Missouri Star's rotary cutter. So you can see right there the Missouri Star. So I use these little grooves as finger placement, and I'm just going to twist in opposite directions, and then one side will have the bolt on it, and the other side won't. It doesn't really matter which side, which way it goes, which one goes on which side. I'm just going to drop that old blade into my sharps container, and then I'm going to take my new blade, and this one you can tell which way it's supposed to go because you want it on the side that doesn't have the guard on it. So it's going this side, and you can just drop that on there so you don't have to handle the blade. Put these two pieces back on, and like I said, I have played with this and swapped which side they go on, and it really does not matter which one is on which side. So once you get that started, I just spin it, and then once it's spun as far as I can, I'm going to grab it, and we're going to go in opposite directions. And if for whatever reason you see that you're making it looser, just go the other way. And so now we're nice and sharp, ready to cut. And let's try our fabric here that we were playing with before. And let's see, that's about 4 or 5 layers thick, so watch this. Like butter. Cut this one left-handed. And like butter. So if you find yourself having to push down really hard with your rotary cutter to be able to cut through the fabric, it's time to get a new blade. If it's not cutting through the fabric completely, just save yourself some frustration and get a new blade. And another thing that's going to do is that's going to help you preserve your self-healing cutting mat. Because if you're having to push really hard, not only does that take a toll on your body over time, especially if you make a bunch of quilts, but it's making bigger, deeper grooves in your self-healing cutting mat. Stuff gets stuck in it and it just doesn't last as long. So when your blade needs changing, save yourself some frustration and change the blade.